Welcome to the Scully Sez podcast, talking all things law, business, and more. Now here's your host, Tom Scully.
Oh, 3-2. Okay, Scully Sez, that's me. And also, I think that we have Tony here, and Tony indicates that he's got an address. An address that I think it says, what's the address, Tony? Scully Sez something or other.
I was
Right.
showing off the shirt first, but yes, we got an email address now.
Wow.
Scully Says Tom at Gmail. I know Patrick gave his Scully Says Patrick, but this is Scully Says Tom. So there's a difference there at gmail.com. So questions, concerns, send them our way.
Oh, and also, Tony, show your shirt. Oh, that's Mr. Pierogi. I don't know if you know what a pierogi is, because, but you know, New York tends to have more Irish and Italians, but pierogi is out this way. We tend to have a couple Polish people out here, so
Okay.
different mix. Anyway, before I get myself in trouble, I was just going to say something which is non-controversial, because that's the kind of guy I am. You know, the day that Trump got elected, I was kind of going through the channels on television just to see something. And I saw this very forlorn-looking guy by the name of Colbert. I don't know if you ever heard of that guy, but he was very sad-looking in a very dark room. And he was telling everybody that it was a very dark day in America, don't you see? And that was pretty much because things were not going his way. And the way he saw life was somewhat different than reality. So he was very upset with that, don't you see? So 6 months later, he gets the boot. Which is a good thing, because I never liked the guy. He's always kind of looking down his nose at people like myself, which is a terrible thing to do. Yeah, exactly. So there he goes, and he can't understand. He's very irate. He has a staff, I believe, of 100 people. They're losing something like $60 million a year. I believe it's $60 million. Maybe it's only $40 million a year, but they're losing that every year. And of course, he feels that he's entitled to continue getting his salary. I think it's $20 million a year, and continue to have his staff of 100 people indefinitely. Don't you see? So he's very upset with the fact that the Paramount refuses to subsidize him. Because he's all in favor of subsidies, particularly for people like himself and people that have, similar political feelings. So that's Mr. Gutfield. And so, we're talking about, so what we're talking about, I guess, is media outlets. Is that what we're going to talk about today?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Legacy media versus.
There you go. Yes. And so
alternative.
Yes, I suppose that he would be he'd be part of the legacy, would he not? Let's see.
I don't know.
I used to think go ahead. No, well, I was going to say, I think that at one time these guys were supposed to be funny, just and have a bunch of guys like comedians come on and basically, regardless of where they stood politically, tell a few jokes, tell a few stories, say what they thought. But, it really has devolved into a time where you get these people that get up there like Schiff telling Trump what he can do with himself, but it's no longer really entertaining. It's so, and I really don't care what your political outlook is. I just don't care to have it shoved down my throat, particularly by somebody who's supposed to be a comedian rather than a shill for the Democratic Party. So anyway, that's my take on it, and I believe that the legacy media is tending to go in that direction. So, with that brief introduction, and I'm biased, of course, I want you to understand that. I'll let you say what you got to say. All right.
Yeah. Well, myself, I don't typically watch Stephen Colbert or any other late night TV. It's a little bit past my typical bedtime. But when you talk about media, I don't know that I consider him media. Maybe I need to define it like you described entertainment to me. I'm thinking more news and, um, where do people get their information from?
Yep.
So I personally do not get my information from Stephen Colbert. I agree that, you know, channels like that, I think, are entertaining. If they want to spoof recent news like Saturday Night Live does, that could be fun. But I don't tune into them for my, to educate me on what's going on in the world.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. I just I don't like the constant skewing in one direction. And so and that's pretty much what I have against the legacy media right now. They seem to be losing the viewership to podcasts such as this, which is just tremendously growing by leaps and bounds. Don't you
Mm.
see? But and so I'm sure that there are people that are on the edge of the seat listening to everything I have to say about this situation. But anyway, the legacy media, NBC, ABC, CBS, MSNBC, they all seem to be saying the same thing. Do you get that idea?
I do get that idea. I get the idea also that Fox News is going to have a different viewpoint than MSNBC. It's very hard to find an objective source and just get the news. I do personally, I like to read the paper. So typically take a look at the Wall Street Journal. It's probably as the most objective I can find. Papers, I guess, are going out of style, newsprint. I'm still somebody who, although I use computers and phones, I like to read the paper and,
You sh-
listen to the local news on TV. Oh, wow.
oh
Yeah.
yeah. You know, I get the paper edition of the Wall Street Journal.
As do I.
Huh?
Yes.
And I've always been amazed.
I'm not sure where it is to show you, but yeah, it's here somewhere.
Okay, well, I believe you. But anyway,
Thank you.
well, and this one occasion now, I'm not going to make a blanket statement of
I
believing you.
appreciate that.
All right.
Somebody else may have it.
Yes. Well, you tell him that he's not to purloin our reading material. This is, but anyway, getting back to where we're supposed to be, the Wall Street Journal. I was surprised. You know, Rupert Murdoch owns the thing, and so I thought to myself, this is going to be really like a right wing rag. And I was really surprised. I mean, by how objective it is, and it's not unheard of that you'll have a number of Democratic columnists on the
Mhm.
paper, and you get varied viewpoints, which I like.
Me too.
I, I always thought that the New York Times was a great newspaper, and you know they had some great writers, but unfortunately it's skewed so far to the left that I just don't pay any attention to it anymore because you know everything that Trump does is bad, and for 4 years they seem to pretty much ignore everything that Biden did or didn't do, basically what he didn't do, and so you know I just don't pay any attention to that newspaper anymore.
The New York Times, I had a subscription to that also, and I did like it. I canceled it a couple years ago for some of the reasons you're stating, but also there was a time that the New York Times had special sections, like they would have computer times and education times and the science times. And as they did away with those parts of the paper, all that was left were opinions and very left-wing articles. So yes, I also do not rely on the New York Times for my news. I do watch the local news, which many days is just weather and traffic pretty much, unless something major happens. And one of the things I don't like about TV news, and many of them do it, is they'll read viewer comments or they ask people to comment on things. And then I really don't need to watch the news for them to tell me, how other viewers are commenting. It's not something I look for in that type of outlet, but it seems that things are increasingly going that way.
Well, yeah, it's sort of like on some of these morning shows, you'll have a bunch of people waving at you, and it's just a bunch of fluff. It has nothing to do with the news. It just talks about, I'm from Poughkeepsie, and I want to say hello to Joan and Bill and everybody else in the family, but it has very little to do with the news. And I've noticed that the news basically has become less and less news, talking more and more about things that are basically very unimportant. And instead, they'll come up with these certainly feel good stories. Somebody's working at the 4-H club or that type of thing. Have you noticed that in the news? Yes.
Oh, I think the mic is.
The mic is gone.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm sorry. I had you muted.
Oh, well,
I had myself muted.
Well, yourself is fine, but when you muted me, that was probably a good idea.
I didn't do that. I don't have that power. I think.
See. You might, but go ahead. So you're going to tell me.
Yeah, a lot of the news is just filler. The news is on, and in fact, I was just trying to see how many hours a day ABC News has live coverage, and apparently 18 hours of live and original programming in a day. I mean, there's just not that much news to report. I think Good Morning America might start at 4:30 and end at like 9 or 10 o'clock. It's, they're trying to make it, I don't know what they're trying to make it, a talk show or something, but I can generally get my news from locally here in New York area, 1010 Wins on the radio. And I do like to listen to the news. I like to listen to it. But yeah, I feel the radio in 20 minutes can give me pretty much the current events. And the Wall Street Journal, I like the first page, the summary on the left. It gives you a pretty good idea of just a rundown of basic things. But I appreciate other people's opinions and things sometimes, but I really don't consider that news, and I'm not looking for that. So I typically don't get my news from, of course, when I open my phone and go to Google, I do get a stream, and I admit it. I often get distracted by it and will click on certain things, but a lot of that content is sponsored, and I guess it's what they think I find interesting, as opposed to just telling me what's going on.
Well, I've noticed one thing over time. My attention span has gotten shorter, and I think that has something to do with the news. The news will come in and they will constantly change the subject, and they'll have these short little blurbs of things that are going on, but actually, they actually give you the news in any depth. They don't do that. And I think one of the reasons is because our attention span is so short that we just won't pay attention. And if anything, we'll probably just flip the channel. Do you see that?
Yeah, but I also think that, when you're watching particularly David Muir, his evening broadcast, it's constantly telling you what's coming up, what they're going to talk about. And yet, they don't talk about it, like you said, in depth, and often you have to wait. So I think a lot of it also has to do with advertising and just trying to keep you on the hook. But I could tell you that in the last 10 minutes of his broadcast, I think 8 minutes is commercials, and it's just,
Well,
but
I
you're
think,
afraid to change the channel because you might miss out on what you really, what he's been putting out there that he's going to tell you about. But generally, it's not that important. Or if you Google it, you can get that information directly without waiting. So
well,
advertising.
yeah,
Huge.
speaking of David Muir in particular, it seems as though he's well coiffed and his outfits are quite well tailored, and it looks as though he's spending a considerable amount of time at the gym. Uh,
Lifting weights. I agree.
yes,
Mhm.
and so he
Well, good for him. Good for him.
well, yes, I think so too, but I think that has something to do with the way the news is being presented to us today. Yeah, he's kind of a personality. Uh, he's a lot of things, but Walter Cronkite is not one of them.
No, I don't. He's not one of my favorites, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
but
yeah, that is especially in the New York market. I see that because sometimes I travel, and depending where you are, the local news team looks very different than it does in New York. So yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know that the journalistic quality of these people, and he's spending so much time in the gym. I don't know how much time he has to research. I know he does go, abroad, and
mm,
he's been in several areas. But yeah, I guess it's a show to catch your attention,
yeah,
but it's not the news. So
no, it's something else. So if we get away from these news sources that are on television, ABC, NBC, blah blah blah, where do you go?
well, I go to the Wall Street Journal and the radio, like I said. I don't do much online. I don't have a Facebook account, and I do know that a lot of people get their information, or I've heard that people get their information from social media. Um, and I don't know. I don't necessarily think that's the best way to get your information. You don't even know if it's true.
Yes.
So but I hear that, through online surveys and things, that more and more people do get their information from streaming sources and social media than they do from, say, the more traditional sources. And it's not cheap to buy a newspaper anymore. I used to be able to get the paper for like 25 cents. I don't know how much the Wall Street Journal is now, but it's not inexpensive.
No.
So
No.
I don't think too many people are picking it up on their way to work. I don't know what's happened to the newsstands, actually.
Oh, I think they're a thing of the past, and I think exactly for the reason that you say. It's sort of like taxes in the city. As less and less people live there, the taxes continue going up, and as the taxes going up, more and more people are leaving the city, and so then as a result, the taxes got to go up again. I think it's the same thing with the newspapers. Less and less people are reading the newspaper, and therefore the price of the newspaper is going up. And as a result, less people read the newspaper, and then the price goes up again. And it finally gets to the point that a lot of times when you see people that have the newspaper delivered to them, they tend to be people that are relatively financially well off because they're the only people that can afford to get the newspaper. And and if that's the case, that certainly tilts the way people get the news. Yeah.
It sure does. So, but I agree. As you earlier said, I think the Wall Street Journal is one of the best objective sources of the news, and also you'll get some world news. You don't just get, you know, what I guess what the media think is exciting and what people want to hear about, like baby animals being born in zoos. And I'm not against, conservation efforts, but there's so much that goes on in the world that you don't hear about. Sometimes the BBC will give you a more objective view, even on American news,
Mm-hmm.
than you get here. Um, But,
So
yeah.
what I'm hearing from you is you don't really listen to podcasts. You don't listen to like people like Joe Rogan or those kind of people.
I do listen to Joe Rogan, but typically some of my somebody will forward me or suggest that I listen to an episode. I mean, his podcasts are 3 hours long.
Yeah,
When I was commuting every day that long, I might be more inclined to listen to it, but I like listening to music or just not listening to anything when I'm out taking a walk. It's a quite a bit of time to invest, but I have listened to his podcasts and I do enjoy them. And I think, like with the Trump election this year, having Trump and JD Vance appear, I think that definitely helped their campaign.
yeah.
And so they do have a place. I can't speak much to how objective he is. I know he offered in that situation, he offered to have the Democratic candidates on and they declined. So, I guess he's open to having multiple people on and express their opinions. I mean, if you're going to speak to somebody for 2 to 3 hours, it's going to be pretty hard to, keep it to the script.
Yeah.
So I like that, but I really haven't listened to many.
Yeah, my understanding was, I don't know if this is factual or not. I think that at one time Rogan used to be Democratic, and he's kind of moved to the right, and particularly with Trump coming on the scene. But I'll tell you somebody else that I used to kind of dislike, and I've gotten to like him more and more, is this Bill Maher. You ever listen to him?
No.
Well, he certainly tends to be left. And so he was talking this one night, and he said that he he was invited to go to he was invited to go to the White House, and he talked with Trump. And he said he really enjoyed talking to Trump. He said Trump, when he's on a one-to-one basis, is a completely different individual than he is when he's in front of the camera. But the point was not so much that what Trump said, but the point that he's willing to talk about somebody that a lot of times the left wing media will not. And as a result of him saying something favorable about Trump, there was a great uproar on the left about how dare he do such a thing. So
Yeah, well, I mean, that I think is ridiculous, and I think that speaks well for him. And there have been people who have turned down going to the the White House, and there's an outcry over Trump not going to the White House Correspondents' Dinner. It's just, does that matter at all? And I don't know why anybody would turn down meeting the President of the United States and making up your own mind. I appreciate people making up their own mind, and you should be open to hearing what people have to say and meet them one on one, and not just listen to what other people tell you about them.
yeah, that's one thing I'm listening more to Mayer because he criticizes both the right and the left, and I kind of like that. It seems as though he's a little bit more open minded than some of the other people. Uh, but we were going to some of the getting back to the media, PBS and NPR. You're aware that they've discontinued funding them, yes?
I am, but I will tell you that I wasn't aware that the government was funding them to the tune of, more than $1 billion.
Yes, and so I resent that. I resent the fact. Now, if I give somebody money, I expect that they're at least going to be even-handed with the way in which they handle my money. I don't want them taking my money and then using it against me, so to speak. But it appears that the government, right now, it seems as though we're pretty much divided. 50% of the country is red and 50% of the country is blue. And they had a hearing the other day with the lady from NPR, and they did a survey, and they said out of all the correspondents, I think there were 30 or 40 of them that worked for NPR, there wasn't one of them that was registered Republican, not one. And so uh, you have 50% of the population being Republican is paying taxes. And of the 50% of the taxes that are being paid to NPR, virtually 100% is being paid to left-wing causes. And so they, which is fine if that's where they want to go, but not on my dime. Not on, not on my dime. If they have every right to ask for contributions from other people, that people think that way, and they should say whatever they feel. But for them to insist that half of that my taxes go so that they can talk about things that I completely disagree with, that's something that I kind of balk at. How about yourself?
I do, and I wonder how many people were aware how much money these organizations were getting from the government. I mean, and why do you solicit so much? You know, when you're watching PBS, it's extensive, the amount of soliciting they do, and they tell you, oh, funding for this program provided by the Carnegie Foundation and this one and that one, but I never hear of the U.S. government. I didn't know that. Or it'll say viewers like you, not taxpayers like you.
Yes.
So that goes, to my feeling in general that a lot of times, I don't understand like all the background, and you don't get news sources that try to per se educate you or give you a link to somewhere else where you can find out more information. So you're just going on what is presented and what you hear, and you're sort of dependent on these people or these sources to give you this information. But how do you validate it? Or how do you make up your own mind objectively?
Yeah, well, the other thing about them is that, in some respects, like with PBS, I like the programs. I like a lot of the programs that they
So do
have,
I.
and but I remember I remember one of the newscasters on PBS, again going back to Trump winning the election. This is his first election, and the newscaster had tears in her eyes. uh, I mean, that's not news. That's something else. But no news, it's not. And so I, I I think that as a result, people are becoming alienated. You see that? I mean, people do not agree with that line of thought. They become alienated, and they go to alternate news sources such as the internet. And sometimes what they will do is sometimes the internet, the information there is as bad, if not worse, than the information that you get from the news.
I agree. And the internet, with its cookies and everything else, is just going to try to figure you out and push things at you that it thinks you want to hear about, or something that you're going to click on, um, so that they can make money too with their ad revenue. It's tough. It's a tough environment to get news today.
Yes, you're absolutely right as far as the internet and being able to track you. I gave a modest contribution to the Trump um, election campaign, and I don't know if I told you this, but as a result, I get more than 10, 10 posts a day from either the Republican committee or Trump or and they'll say things like, "Tom, we were just talking about you today, and it would be wonderful if you give your input." and you scroll down to the bottom of it, and it, of course, it asks for a contribution, but I mean, bombarded every single day. I'm getting 10 or 15 of these pleas for money,
Mhm.
but it just goes to show how well they track you. They know exactly. They know what your political affiliation is. They know what your leanings are. They know what type of programs you want to see. So yeah, they've got it down to a science.
Well, obviously, and they're listening to everything you say. I mean, you'll be talking about buying a new couch, and all of a sudden I get emails and I see in my stream, ads for furniture. But that's what I mean. Like they're figuring you out, and they probably do have a very good psychological profile on you. But that's what the internet is going to give you. That no matter where you go, that's what it's going to give you. That's what it's doing. It's learning who you are, what you like, and they're not gonna give you the alternate view or try to convince you of something else. That I don't think there's a vested interest in these companies for that. They're not really concerned with giving you the news. They're just concerned with their advertising dollars.
Yeah. And of course, the advertiser, they pretty much sway the opinions that are given to you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I'm looking here, and let me see. We've talked about the different news. Is that me? Oh my God!
Oh, special phone call.
Oh no, there'll be none of that. I have
Maybe someone's calling in.
Yes.
Maybe it's Trump, the White House.
No, it's not. I know exactly.
Joe Rogan.
No.
Rogan's calling.
You know who it was? It was my office.
Oh no!
And we were talking. Well,
Work.
we were talking. Well, we were talking about the internet, and I don't know if you know this or not, but the internet is dependent on a machine which is called a computer. You aware of that?
Well, yeah, for access to it. Yeah.
Yes. Well, it seemed that I was watching this computer yesterday, and all of a sudden I see a black screen. Have you ever had that happen to you?
Like the blue screen of death?
Well, pretty much so. I believe that it's what they call a crash, you see. Yeah, and so
sorry to hear. You must have been looking at some pretty heavy Trump stuff when that happened.
well, actually, I was actually looking at something was pretty innocuous. It was talking about Social Security and the way in which the Social Security is administering the funds right now. That's what I was looking at, and all of a sudden, so maybe that was our government at work. I don't know, but anyway,
they don't want you to know.
They don't want me to know. Yes, and so
you were getting too deep.
Well, they're pretty successful in not wanting me to know. There's no doubt about that. So anyway, all right. So that's what that telephone call was, showing that my computer is down, and I'm somewhat dependent on it, as I think most of us are, for whatever. Even right now, some people may resent the fact that my computer is working, but that's their problem rather than mine. But with that said, is there anything else that you might add to this conversation before I call it a day?
I don't think so.
You think we've covered everything thoroughly, and that there's no there's been nothing unturned, nothing unexamined, nothing that our listening public is eager to hear?
No, just social media is bad. Don't use it for your news. And if anything, maybe the Wall Street Journal needs to sponsor the podcast, because I think we did a good job recommending the Wall Street Journal as a news source.
Yes, I think so, and I think that the listening public will be well advised to listen to us, and not only to listen to us, but to listen to us religiously. I mean, just not a one-time thing. It's got to be, because otherwise, how else can they be informed? Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right. So we're in agreement on that, and with that, I'm gonna call it a day.
All right.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
been a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, indeed. Bye.